Hey there, and welcome to Hot Seat. And we are here to explore the reasons of why. What's the why? What's the purpose? What drives business owners to do what they do? If it's what you're looking for, to get motivated, well, we look forward to sharing this episode with you. I'm your host, Kelvin Holiday, and I am enjoying the fact that we can explore people's why and motivate others. So stay tuned for this exciting new episode. 15 minutes, fast paced. Let's do it. Well, welcome again, folks, to another Hot Seat, and we've got somebody pretty special. This is a guy that I've known for a while now, and we're doing some special things together about podcasting. Kyle is he would describe himself as an extravert and ultra creative. So, Kyle, coming into the Hot Seat, let's have a chat, buddy.
Hello. How are you?
Mate, I am doing awesome. How are you?
I am fantastic. Like my dad used to say, if he used to say that exceptionally well, but I'll get better.
Yeah. Extrovert, extra positive. Yeah, that's cool. Mate, we've teamed up. We're getting the whole Unleash Your podcast going together, and I'm super excited about that. But it's about time we got in and learned a little bit about who's Kyle. So tell us your story, mate. Like, I know you're on the other side of the world. I won't hold that again. But
Yeah.
tell us your story, buddy.
Wow, where do I even start? So, I'm 30 years, I'm almost 30 years in the healthcare field, full time. I was a respiratory therapist when I first started out. Then I became a paramedic, and then I went into medical sales, and then I went into medical supply development. And then, all that kind of wanted to get back to serving the community again. I was still serving people when I was doing the medical supplies and the medical development. And because it was one of those things where the products I sold actually saved lives. So I knew what I was doing was still serving, but I'm kind of a hands-on guy. I'm very creative, as you mentioned earlier. I'm just today I put a neighbor's front door in, and I've known construction since I was old enough to swing a hammer with my dad. But healthcare field, paramedic, full-time paramedic right now. Still, I just got off this morning at 6 a.m. and I work every third day as a paramedic. But with being a paramedic, working every third day, it only puts you in the paramedic seat 121 days out of the year minus vacations or time off. So I have a lot of time on my hands to do something else. So I've created multiple businesses. So one business I created was I was in construction for many years, and I still kind of dabble in it a little bit. Starting to beat me up too much. I've had some orthopedic procedures done with shoulders and knees, and I'm just getting too old to swing the hammer anymore. So I'm looking to get out of that. And when I was looking to get out of that, I got into voiceover acting about 6 years ago. So I'm in my studio right now. This doesn't look like my studio because of the green screen, but nonetheless, I have a professional microphone studio with a booth, and I do commercials, I do character voices, I do video game voices, I do e-learning, I do education. So podcasting was one of the things that ended up falling into my lap and doing some intros and outros for some people. Well, that was turned into, hey, can you help me do my podcast? I'm like, sure. I didn't know have a clue what podcasting was. And but back, 6 years ago. So I kind of taught myself. And over the years, I've become, a podcaster slash educator in my paramedic program. I am one of the educators. We have 6 educators that go around on a daily basis and educate our department along with our training team and our medical director. So I'm very, very into the educational space as well as the production space for voiceover and podcasting. And it's just one of those things where I I'm I'm an educator at heart. I have a service at heart. I know that I'm close to retirement. I think I'm only 8 years away from retiring. I want something to have to I'm not gonna be able to retire and then just sit on my hands or travel all over the place. It'd be nice, but, first of all, I need the money to do that, and you don't make the right kind of money as a paramedic, as you may or may not know. We don't any first responders don't really make a lot of money to, travel the high seas. So as I started getting into voiceover, now into podcasting, now into podcast coaching, I'm hopefully by the time my retirement comes, I've established a nice little egg where I can podcast and voiceover from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. So that's me in a nutshell in what, 3 or 4 minutes there?
Mate,
Well,
that
but a married wife, 2 kids, that kind of stuff. 4 dogs,
yeah, mate. No, you got to put the family in there just in case they actually listen to
Yeah.
the show and
Yeah.
and they've got to say, hang on, where do I fit in that? But mate, what a mixed bag. But I get it. I actually get it. Yeah, that whole service heart, the education sort of stuff. It does fit together, mate. There's a lot of us that resonate, mate. I was an ex-builder, and I've been in the medical field myself, and it's yeah. So a lot of synergies between the two of us, and I'm really looking forward to our whole relationship getting better. But mate, you got into this podcasting thing, and I guess what is it? Yeah, you're the extravert, all right. But what is it that just you get up, you're out of work now at 6 a.m. this morning, you're still going, all right. What's the time there now? We got
9:21 at night
yeah,
right now. Yeah.
yeah, 9:21 p.m. So you finish early in the morning, you're still going late at night. You're just passionate. What is it? Like if you could say it in just a couple of words, what is it about podcasting that tickles your fancy? Like what grabs you?
Honestly, it's being the extrovert. I like to meet people. I actually, for a little part of my life, probably mid-marriage, and we're 24 years in now. And it was a good solid 12, 13 years in, and I just found myself playing video games at night, drinking beer and gaining weight, right? And my wife's an introvert. So opposites do attract, everyone. So
Yeah,
I love her to death. She loves me to death. We're good together. We are the yin for her yang. I'm her yin for her yang, and it's one of those things where we make it work, but I still have that extrovertism, if you will. I'm coining that phrase, extrovertism.
yeah,
I've used that several times on other podcasts, so it's going to catch on. I just know it.
yeah.
So,
Mate, just got to say it enough.
yeah, exactly. So what happened was I became an Uber driver for a while and I loved it. It filled me. So it's one of those things. Have you ever seen the movie Unbreakable? And there's a
Yes.
scene where he's standing in the middle of some sort of big, huge, busy place, and he just puts his hands out, right? And he's touching people are touching him and brushing him, and he's flashing and seeing what they're. That's not me, but that's the kind of person I am. When I go into a place and there's people around, it fills me with energy, right? I get very energized when I'm around people, almost to a fault, and I've had to actually peel myself back a few times to make sure that I don't overwhelm the group because I'm not I don't want to say that I'm look at me, but I know how to work a room, and I know how to I've been in sales. I've been the one guy that all my friends wants to drive to the road trips. I've been the guy that people call on for emergencies. It's just who I am, and I'm not going to, for many years I pushed it down, and I tried to change a little bit and become a little bit less extroverted. And it's just not me. And it's people were asking me, "Are you okay, Kyle?" And you don't seem right. Well, I'm trying to be a little less, outgoing for people because I can be a little too much sometimes for people. But I've learned to going through. I had a really good mentor that explained to me what emotional intelligence was, and I've been working on that for a long time now. And I have a good flow to my life now. I know when I can be excited and hey everybody, let's do this and be the leader, but I also can kind of sit back, chill out, meditate and ground myself. And that's probably part of my mental health process too, from some of the issues that I've gone through with paramedic stuff. And I've learned a lot in the last few years since I had a crisis. One Wednesday morning I got off work and it just everything came down, and I got help, and I know how to navigate things now. I run 2 podcasts. One of them is for mental health for the first responders, and I have guests come on and talk about their PTSD and talk about their whatever their program is that helps for the mental health side of things. And then I have a podcast for the entrepreneur in me, and where I invite entrepreneurs on and interview them, kind of like what you do. So
Mate, you are definitely the extrovert, and it's really cool that you just this is who I am, and I think
yeah,
that's the key piece. You got to be you.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm not apologizing for it anymore. I used to apologize for it, and I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I've got dyslexia. I was learning disabled all the way up through college. I had special time for my classes and my tests. I mean, I had tutors left and right. It used to be called stupid when I was in elementary school, bullied a little bit, and it's one of those things where I am who I am. My name's Kyle Goodknight. I'm the only one in the world that spells it my way. And it's been one of those things where it's been more of a conversation starter for most of my life than it was for anything that hurt me in the beginning. Hey, Kyle Goodnight, is it morning yet?
Yeah.
So it's like it's just one of those things where, I tried to make sure that, when I'm myself, I'm happier, right? And I don't need to explain myself to anybody. And and don't get me wrong, I don't want to upset people or make people uncomfortable, and I can read the room pretty good now too. Once again I mentioned about, learning a lot about emotional intelligence, and that's a lot about reading the room. So I can read a room, but it's just a matter of I am who I am, and I like who I am, and I'm going to be who I am. And if you don't like it, there's how many billion of people in the world, right?
Yeah. Well, that's so right. And I think you're doing these podcasts, you're doing it for the right reasons. And one of the things that a lot of podcasters, I know we're going to get into some conversation long term, and I'll get you back into tool time. We'll have some other conversations around, doing some what it is you do. But podcasters themselves, like, a lot of people don't do podcasting because they're either introverted or
Right.
they're not confident in their own skin. All right. And so they go, oh, why would anybody listen to me? And there's all those barriers, all those little voices in the back of our heads going, hey, you're not good enough, you're not the right sort of personality for this, or, eh, whatever it might be. People are going to give you a hard time. So you might as well just be yourself anyway. That's the way I,
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
It, it's just be who you are, mate. So through this process, and I don't want to get into we've all had some mental struggles in our lives, and what you're doing to help people in that space is awesome. But obviously, you're in this paramedic field. You're dealing with entrepreneurs. And you're going to be facing these struggles. All right. There's definitely going to be struggles in life, particularly, I know in business, life just gets damn tough. All
Oh yeah.
right. So what are some of the things that you do yourself to help you to overcome when you got that negative voice in your head, you've got the that was just a tough day. How do you get through those things?
Well, I like to call those, and I learned about this early on in the voiceover industry, and I called it the doubt demons. Right. So I actually have an episode of my early days of YouTube about the doubt demons. So when you doubt yourself, you're just hurting yourself. And I struggled with confidence as an extrovert. What is that about? Like, it freaked me out. Like, why am I struggling with confidence when I first started voiceover? And it boiled down to the fact that I was worried that people would judge me and think that I was doing something stupid, like, oh well. But then I flashed back to how many people asked me when I talked to them on the old fashioned phone, the one you used to dial, and that be
Yeah.
late at night talking to people like, man, you got a really nice voice. Like, have you ever thought about being on the radio? And I'm like, no. So I've been told many times that I have a face for radio, if you will. No, but a voice for radio. And I was always able to do like character voices for my kids and read the monster at the end of the book and character, "Do not get the page," like Grover. And I've always been able to do voices and stuff. And so I looked into doing that. And for some reason, I started worrying about people judging me about this new career, right? I don't know why, but thank goodness I had a coach, and that's one thing I would recommend anybody who's trying to do something new is to get a coach. Don't think that you may be able to create a lot of stuff and build things on your own, but if you don't have a little bit of guidance, or a lot of guidance depending on where you're at in your process, getting a coach was so imperative, right? And not only for the voiceover business, but when I started to make my mental health courses that I've made, I I dove into coaching as well. And that led me to a place where I got doubtful again. I started having doubt demons again about what I was doing and why I was doing it. I wasn't getting anybody to, to confide in me in the mental health space. And I just put a big pause on it, and I had to refocus, and I had to come up with a new strategy. And then the podcast thing came about for myself to build a podcast for mental health. And that started the path down to the other podcast. And then that led me back to the mental health side of things, because I've actually met so many people through podcasting that I've got one heck of a network for the mental health space, for first responders, for veterans. And it put me back into focus on concentrating on my long-term goal, which is to help first responders, through their careers, before their careers, after their careers, to understand and normalize the mental health space of what we do. And then, of course, the podcast for business just kind of came about because podcasting now is quite simple. Honestly, it's not as tough as it used to be when I first got in. I don't spend hours and hours and hours in post like I used to. And with some of the technologies that's out there, podcasting is fun again. It's that rush again, because not only can I get on and meet new people, but I can also produce and get it out to the world, quicker than I've ever been able to do it before. And it inspires me, because who am I going to meet next? Who's going to be in my hot seat next? And and I have a collaboration with, or a conversation with, and we get to know each other, and some of the similarities. I had a guy on my podcast the other day, and come to find out, he was an infomercial seller back in the day, right? Back when infomercials were around. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mom was on an infomercial with Carlton Sheets. And he's like, oh my gosh, I remember pushing that thing. He goes, I remember, because he was somebody that would answer the phones when people call in. He goes, I answered for the Carlton Sheets. He's like, was this in like the 80s and early 90s? I'm like, yes, it was. And come to find out, he probably was answering the phones from my mom being on the Carlton Sheets, infomercial, talking about all the properties that she got with $1 or whatever his program was. So it's just like, I would have never met that guy, and I would have never known that story if I didn't just be myself and just talk about stuff and bring up my past.
That, mate, there's some gold there, folks. Like, just be yourself and let it rip, let it happen, natural, and it just comes. Kyle, this has been exceptional, mate, and we're going to get into multiple conversations, and pretty soon we're going to be. You talk about the technology side of things. Wow, where technology is going in the podcast space. All right, we've got something pretty special for people, but you're going to have to stay tuned and come back for some more of that one. Kyle, I'm going to ask you now, mate. What is your one hot seat hot tip when shit hits a fan, or life is just tough. Yeah,
Right.
what's something you can just leave the folks with today that they'll just help them keep on moving forward?
Well, when you told me that we would have that question, I looked around my room, because I have all these little post-it notes, right? I was like, post-it notes. Oh, you can't see it. It's okay. Either way, there's a post-it note there. And literally the first one I dropped my eyes on was small hinges swing big doors. And what that translates to is, do the small stuff, because the small stuff, brush your teeth, put your shoes on in the morning. Literally, the small stuff builds momentum towards the bigger stuff. So when it comes to business, or your thought process of, not putting yourself out there, do the small stuff. Start with audio only, and don't worry about video. And then when people pressure you, be like, listen, you need to have video because it's really important, then you go into video. But if you do the small stuff as you grow your business, or you walk through your life, the small stuff builds to the big things. That's where the payoff is, whether that be monetarily, whether that be emotionally, whether that be familial. It's the small stuff that matters. It really does.
Yeah, mate, Kyle, that is so simple. It's ingenious. Uh, been a pleasure having you
being,
here on
being a
Hot.
builder, I mean, small hinges swing big doors. You and I have both built big doors with small hinges on it, and
I
it worked.
get that.
Like,
Love
it
that.
worked.
It works. I love the analogy, mate, and let it flap away on this little hinge, mate. Beautiful. Been a great having you here, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Folks, that is the end of another hot seat, and you've heard it from the man. We are going to say good night, Kyle, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us here at Hot Seat. It's been an amazing, amazing event. It is a place where you can actually enjoy and be inspired by the why of others, the drive of the purpose and the passion. Please like and share this podcast with as many people as you can to inspire them to make a difference in this world. Have an awesome day. Unleash.